All right, welcome back. This is part 2 of the show. We
What
left
episode?
off
Can you say what episode? You have no idea.
19.
Dude. No.
18?
I don't know. I think like 21 maybe?
No,
I don't know,
really?
20, there's like a couple in the
We
can.
did a few.
Yeah, I have a couple in the can I haven't released
True.
yet.
But we left off talking about kids, how they can either ruin, make or break you basically.
Kind of.
We were kind of, you're right, we were kind of done with that, but we are going to talk about something maybe a little bit more controversial, depending where you're, which side you're on.
Anal sex.
Exactly. No, I'll just delve right into it, basically. I had a conversation with someone, not going to say who, telling me that Christians are severely under attack in America. First of all, I want your input. What do you think about that? And then I'll tell you the dialogue that it was exchanged.
Well, Alex Jones here. And let me just say this, Cody. Christians are under oppressed. If you don't understand that now, you are part of the one world government and everything that the fascist Obama and his people are bringing to the table. I can't understand why you don't you don't get this through your head. We have no Christmas now. The Easter Bunny, he's in outer space with the goblins eating the fucking goo. So I cannot keep that up. My throat hurts too bad. I'm sorry.
All right,
I was trying to. No.
Well, thank you, Alex. Now we're going to tune into Jay here.
Oh man, I want to do an entire show like
God,
that or
that'd
a
be hard.
segment,
Right.
but I have been too fucked up to,
I get that.
which sucks. In fact, I've been like too fucked up to even like throw in a lot of funny banter like
Right.
I normally do. It comes off as dull, but like I can't do it.
I get
No, Christians under attack. Like I've got a story too.
Okay.
That would actually be the exact opposite. Was that your? I mean, did you have more to add?
Yeah, I just wanted kind of your input, but if your story's going to kind of counter it, then I'll just tell you my story.
No, not counter, but it'll.
Okay, then I'll just tell you the dialogue that was exchanged. Pretty much, I can't remember what the story was, but I was watching the news with this individual, and it had something.
Was it like a war on Christmas thing, or was it something?
No, it was something really, really minute. Like, I'm not totally sure how they derived it from this, but it led him in to say something about how it's just awful how Christians are so oppressed in America. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, we're so under... Because he's religious. He's like, we are so under attack in America right now. I was like...
Is he one of those, like, thinks that Black Lives Matter should just shut up?
Yes. Exactly. He doesn't have it through his head that Black Lives Matter, just saying they're equal with people, not that they're better than people.
Or
he thinks they're saying they're better.
Or the fact that, like, black people are oppressed in America.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite see that either. And so he started bringing up, and I kid you not, this is how it went. It went from, we're so oppressed in America. Have you seen, there's no space, have you seen all the beheadings in Egypt? I'm like, well, no, wait, what? He was like, all the Muslims are... And he, by the way, he's one of those people that every time he says Muslims, it's in a negative context, I feel. He said, all the Muslims, they're just beheading our people and stuff. I was like, okay. Well, first of all, I said in America, they're definitely getting killed overseas.
There's just, like, millions of Muslims.
Right.
And there's only, like, a couple, maybe 100,000.
Right. And I was like, but second of all, I see you just as bad. Because here's why. I see the people who are saying, no, we will not take refugees. You're killing them indirectly. You are not firing the arrow from the bow, but you're pulling the string to allow it to be released. You're not directly killing them, but you're setting it up so it can happen.
Yeah.
So you talk about Christians being killed, you're doing the same thing. You're not beheading them, but you might as well be. And so I'm like, well, what do you mean they're being... they're trying to take in God we trust out of everything and stuff. Like, no, you guys aren't being oppressed. They're just trying to find... If you're going to... Which, by the way, the First Amendment, that they just love to suck its dick.
Yeah.
Like, that's freedom of religion. It doesn't say freedom of Christianity. It says freedom of religion.
Yeah.
And they are so intolerant to any other religion. Like, I was talking with one of my Jew friends. They're like, no, I just don't understand how people are so critical on other religions. Like, why can't we just all kind of get along?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
No.
And I'm kind of, by the way, an omist. You know what an omist is?
I don't.
Omism is basically, in a nutshell, right? It's basically, you don't follow any particular religion, but you see that there's truth and good things in all of them. and I can get behind that. There's good things and
closer
truth.
to what I am too. I don't know what I am. Like, you know.
I kind of bounce back and forth because like I consider myself a Christian, but I'm very loose.
I mean,
if you listen to me just on a daily basis, I'm very loose.
Yeah, no.
I believe in creation and I believe in God and all this stuff, but I'm not
believe in creation.
I do.
You don't believe in like the Big Bang?
No, and there's a big reason why we don't have time for that.
We should, but
I mean, if you want, but no, it's just I don't understand.
Let me just say this real quick on the Big Bang thing: is if there is a God and he's that intelligent, that would be the smartest way to do it. So it doesn't exactly go against what the Bible says.
Right.
It just makes God more intelligent.
I have trouble believing both, to be honest.
Well, I completely have trouble believing.
No,
the
me
creation
too.
thing.
But
like
even,
he's just like, boop.
But even
you
like
ever watch I Dream of Jeannie?
Yeah.
He like does his little nose
Right.
wiggle. Wait, that's Bewitched. Whatever. But yeah, does the nose wiggle and then boom, there we go.
No, and like my problem with the Big Bang Theory is it was an explosion, right? That created everything.
It was, and here's the thing. Whoever you listen to, who's ever told you, unless it's like Stephen Hawking or something, you're never going to get the full. So, like, what I'm going to do is try to interpret the best I can, but be it that superstring theory is still a little out of my league. I can't. But basically, negative ions in a frictionized formula, or not formula, but movement,
right, created
an explosion. And without oxygen, without space, without any of that, and here's the thing too: the Big Bang, not actually that big, but when there's no space, there's no nothing, pretty big, and just continued to expand. Some people believe it's still expanding.
Here's my problem with the Big Bang Theory. First of all, it basically everything that we know now was created from this, right? The explosion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Step one, you have to have something created already. You have to have two different factors. If everything was created from this, first of all, the landmass had to have been absolutely huge. To create all of the planets and the moons and all this shit flying around in outer space would have had to be huge. You would have had to have something...
Here's the thing, like... it's hard for us to completely understand. You watch the Cosmos, right? Mm-hmm. And you saw, like, in one calendar year of the universe, we've only been alive for, like, 45 seconds.
Right.
So, like, wrapping your mind around that is a huge task.
I get that.
Just in general. But we're talking, like, billions of years of growth. Like, it started as, like, just something, a pea size, and this expanded, then this broke off from this, and this grew from that. Like,
but you can't take something the pea size and have a universe. You can't. It defies all physics. You can't take something the size of a pea, blow it up.
Growing.
But what's making it grow?
Well, I mean, it could just be something like...
You have to have other matter to either attach onto it or in it to grow. And it doesn't.
It could be something like a bacteria. It could be something like what does grow.
But if it was bacteria, there'd be a lot more planets and moons made of bacteria. That's the thing.
No, and like I said, I don't understand.
That's one reason I have a problem with it.
Theory, and I don't pretend to know it, so I don't exactly know. But what I'm like, and the whole pea thing wasn't like. I'm just saying, like, that wasn't a direct. Like,
I know.
Size for size.
I know. But then my other problem with it is, basic, in a nutshell, everything was kind of made from nothing, so to speak. Not like creation-wise. I'm talking like Big Bang Theory, all this shit, pretty much an explosion. But you have to have two different factors for an explosion to occur.
I get what you're saying.
And there wasn't really anything there, is my biggest problem with it. Nothing was there, but an explosion happened.
And I get what you're saying. And, like, that's where it all comes down to. Just like the whole, like, anyone can poke holes in creationism thing. I just find it more believable, is what I'm saying. Like, just in Earth, seeing, like, us coming from, like, amoebas to us now. I can see how that happened. Like, and it's like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Like, and if that happened here, it's easier to believe that that's what happened in the universe.
Right.
Part of my thing with, like, creationism is, all they talk about is Earth. They don't even, like, make mention of the moon.
Right, no.
Let alone all the other billions of galaxies, and you know.
And my other problem, well, just since you bring up Earth, my other problem, and I'm not advocating either side, by the way, but my other problem with it is that Earth is such a delicate thing. Like, if one species goes extinct, and like these frogs that are the poison dart frogs that are going extinct, that's why they say the Zika virus has been more abundant. But it's so intertwined and so delicate, I have trouble believing that an explosion could create something so specific, so just intertwined,
It didn't
and so
create it
delicate.
that way, though. You know what I mean? Like, Earth has been through so many different catastrophes, and just because we weren't alive through them, like, I see where you're coming from on that, but to think that we're at the state that we're in now has always been that way is not true.
Right.
And a lot of it is causality. Like, some of it, I think, honestly, is, like, propped up a little bit. Like the poison dart frogs.
Right.
I don't really think that's a big thing. Like,
Right.
That,
I'm
I think, in
just
fact, when I
saying.
told you about that, I was like, why don't they just say this isn't that big of a deal?
Right.
You know? But, like, I get what you're saying, but, like, I see it as we're only so delicate because it's the environment in which we've grown it to be. And not us, but I mean, like, the trees and like, everyone has a job, so to speak.
Right.
And so that's where I'd go.
And so here's another point that I'll bring up. When this explosion happened, the void was already there, right? Something was already there.
Possibly. I've also heard, like, it could have been a black hole. I've heard that. Like,
Okay, but that's still here.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is something had to be there. I don't care if this something was a giant landmass that grew from one single cell, it divided or whatever. Point is, something had to be there. I want to know what that first, how to get there.
I think we all do. I mean, I think
Right.
everyone does.
That's what I'm saying, though. You can't, even if you want to break it down like that, that something had to have come from something.
Right.
Or it was put there. I'm not saying, and
if it was a black hole,
which had to have been
which
created
could
from
have been-
something.
we don't know shit about them.
I know.
You know, like, that's the other thing. Like, we have no clue. And, like, then you could, like, fucking Hawking has
Right.
been on, like, this whole multi-dimensional thing.
Right.
Like, what if that's a thing?
And I kind of wonder sometimes if it's not like evolution. And by the way, you have a much more further belief in evolution than I do. I don't believe we came from amoebas, but I definitely believe in microevolution. And I kind of wonder if it's not along the same lines as, like, maybe God created it, but he created evolution too. Put that into place. Like, that's something that Christians are very wary to admit. Like, maybe, how do you know that God didn't just create evolution to be a thing?
Well, yeah.
Because, I mean, there's evolution very obvious in some aspects.
I've argued that point. And I would say, like, as far as, like, religion, if anything, I guess I'd probably be a deist.
Right.
Like, I believe in a clock starter.
And so I'm not completely opposed to the view that maybe it was a little bit of both. Maybe God put the necessary components for the Big Bang to happen. Maybe it's that. I don't know. None of us were there.
Total possibility.
Probably we'll never know.
No,
to
I
be
don't
totally
think so.
honest.
No.
We can get a close guess maybe, but I wouldn't be opposed to maybe it's a little bit of creation and the Big Bang theory.
Could be.
I don't know.
No, I
And plus, just the
completely
last...
open to both. Like, because, yeah, who knows? But, well, no, I shouldn't say I'm completely open to both, because I'm not. Creation is something I'm not, I just don't. For part of it, let me just say this, is like, DNA-wise, we share, like, 98, 99%. I think the lowest is, like, 97%. With, like, all other creatures in this planet. Like, that's, you can't, I mean, for me, that's, like, really good proof that we all came from a centralized
And I get
being.
that, too.
You know, but, I mean...
There's points on both sides that I agree with.
Yeah, it's so much to wrap your mind around. Uh-oh, we might be in trouble. Alright, well, so apparently, we don't really, yeah. By the way, it was Google Plus I called, sorry.
That's weird.
Yeah, what the fuck? Why the fuck are they calling us? Anyway, your thing with the person you were talking to, you were saying, like, before I sidetracked
Right,
us.
yeah.
What was his, like, response to, like, you basically saying, like, listen, like, there's freedom of religion, blah, blah, blah. Where, in questioning how he was persecuted. What was his response to
Nothing. He stopped.
Really?
He did. He just kind of did. You know how people just kind of be like, they'll make this face and kind of hold their hand up like, yeah, well, whatever. You believe what you want to believe. That's because you lost.
And, well, obviously, because you don't have passion in it. Because you don't truly believe it.
Right, exactly. It was shut down pretty quick. It was stupid.
There's no way you could go to a black person and be like, you people have never been oppressed.
And that's another thing.
You're going to be in that conversation for a long time.
I was talking to another family member about Black Lives Matter, and he was like, well, they aren't oppressed. This whole Black Lives Matter, hands up, don't shoot, was started by people who break the law. It was started by hoodlums. I was like, no, dude, check this out. If you believe that there's no separation between police and the black community, you're dead wrong. I have like 4 black friends about 30 minutes away from here who have each told me they're good people. They are not thugs.
Yeah.
We go out and party, sure.
Yeah.
But they aren't thugs. They don't break the law. They've been harassed by police. I have a friend here in town that got pulled over on the way to school every day for a week.
And as a white kid, you've broken the law. I mean,
right, sure.
Listen, everyone breaks the law at times, and depends on your age and whatever. I mean, but yeah, my mom was kind of in that same boat. And she's the sweetest woman, one of the sweetest women I know. And I was like, have you seen the videos? No.
Right, exactly.
Watch the videos.
Well,
it's one of those things, like, you hear about, like, Ray Rice beating up his wife, and you're like, all right. Well, hey, you can still run the football pretty good. Right. And then you see the video, and you're like, holy shit.
Right, yeah. Well, and he was like, part of it was, he was like, well, what did they get pulled over for? I was like, nothing. He was like, no, they had to have been doing something.
Tail light,
I was like,
shit
no.
like that.
Well, and that's the thing. They weren't speeding. Didn't have a tail. I was with them at one point.
You're
not every time, but there was one time where we're all in the car, and they weren't speeding because I was in the front seat. I watched the speedometer. I'm kind of that guy.
Yeah.
Didn't have a tail light out. Nothing. Turn signal, good. Everything. They didn't get pulled over for anything. Once he saw me, he backed off. I'm not even kidding.
Hey, there's a white guy here.
We got a
representative.
Story. He's like, well, they're just these people. And I was like, no, they cruise around and they look for people on the phone. He was like, well, yeah, if you're screwing around at 2 a.m., that you shouldn't be out at that hour. I was like, why? He's like, well, because you're up to nothing good. I was like, well, I'm out at 2 a.m. all the time. He's like, well, what are you out at 2 a.m. for? I don't know. Go to McDonald's, grab a bite to eat, screw around Walmart, whatever. He was like, well, you shouldn't be out at that hour. Like, why?
Yeah.
What's wrong with it?
What if you work third shift?
Right, exactly. No.
That's your getting out time. No,
exactly.
that annoys me. And
like, you
in
don't
a small
have a
town
good
like
excuse.
we live in here, it's bullshit. If we lived in a bigger city, people are out all sorts of. But yeah, no, because I used to work. Like, I worked third shift for like 6 years. It sucked, like, getting out and being like, fuck, I'm probably gonna get pulled over.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I literally woke up like 30 minutes ago. It's 3 a.m.
Right.
I'm fucked.
Right.
No, along the lines of, like, Christian persecution and us going after them, I went into my day job Tuesday. And this is kind of funny because the owner of my day job is a quote-unquote good Christian guy. Goes to church and does all that. Anyway, I show up about 10 minutes early. The way, like, I closed the night before, so I knew it was going to be easy to open, right? And I come in, and there's beer cans everywhere. The money that I'd counted that would be ready just to put up real quick, it was gone. And it was all from him, I know. And this guy tried to come in about 5 minutes early. She saw me come in. I locked the door. He's, like, pounding on the door. Hey, you open? I'm like, no. We open at 10. It's only, it's 9:55. Can I come in? I'm like, no. Like, I need to count the register and stuff. I can't have anyone in here. And he stands outside, waits for a while. And I'm doing all this because of a good Christian guy was drinking and stealing money. And I know people are like, oh, he's not a good Christian. Yeah, well, that's most of you Christians, so I don't want to hear it. It's somewhat true.
There's nothing wrong with drinking.
No.
Just getting drunk.
I mean, well, it is kind of anti-God.
No.
Well,
it doesn't say. It just says in the Bible
to respect your body and treat it like as your vessel. It's
right.
like your personal. And if you're putting out poison in it, you're kind of not respecting your body. Listen, that's not my. That's from the Bible.
Right.
That's not me. But so I get everything set up, and I come in there, and he's, and I apologize because it's like 5 minutes past, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I had to clean up, and I accidentally left like one of the beer cans. And he was like, oh, big party here last night. I'm like, oh, I don't know, it was. And I said the guy's name, the store, owner, shop owner, and he's like, oh, well, he doesn't do that very much, does he? I'm like, well, probably. And he's like, well, I know him from church. He's a good guy. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that because you know him from church, because he's a good Christian.
Right.
I work with him. I see this shit every day.
Right.
But hey, he goes to church once a week, so nah.
Smoking weed doesn't make you a bad person, just like going to church doesn't make you a good one.
That's a very valid point. So anyway, I again, this guy's a good Christian, so you couldn't possibly be doing this or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, well, he did. And you know who I'm talking about. This is a bigger guy. Remember, for a while, we could never sell him the right little part for his thing because it would always, it just kept leaking constantly. Yes. Him and his blonde wife would come in. And yes, that guy. So he proceeds to tell me, he's like, well, let me ask you, are you a religious person? And I said, no. And he's like, man, you got to come to Jesus. And I'm like, why? He's like, dude, everything you give, you will receive. And I'm like, nah, dude, it's just not who I am. And we never mind. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm telling the story wrong. There was something I put the news on when I came in. There was something about gay people being beaten. And he commented, he's like, yeah, that's just not good. It's not right. And I'm like, yeah, it's messed up. People shouldn't beat up gay people. And he's like, no. He's like, shouldn't be gay. Like, that's not what Jesus is about. And I was just like, well, my grandma is the most religious, the most wonderful person I know ever in the world. I mean, like, she's the reason I believe there are good Christians out there. And she says, like, God made them gay, so you gotta love everyone. Like, things change. We don't know, everything. And she says this after she read a Reader's Digest, finding out that there is a gay gene.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, God made them gay, they're gay. Like, we should love them, you know? And he goes off on this whole, like, oh no, fuck the gays, God set us here on earth with these kind of obstacles, and we've got to handle them for God. I'm like, what, God can't fucking, for one, but, and so then that led into, well, are you religious?
Obviously not.
Yeah, and I'm like, nah, and he basically goes on this whole, like, if you're religious, man, he's like, let me tell you something. If you're religious, you pray, everything you want will happen. Will happen. He's like, I know you got a boy, and like, he'll be healthy if you go to God and all this shit. And like, for one, I was on the verge of being heated about it.
Right, I would have been.
And I just said, yeah, no, it works great for all those cancer kids that are religious, doesn't it?
Right.
And he's like, well, God works in mysterious ways. Like, fuck you, man. Like, I didn't say it, but I'm like, fuck you. You come up with excuses for your side all the fucking time.
That's such a cop-out.
God
really works in mysterious ways, but you said that we'll also always get what we pray for.
Right.
I prayed, that my grandma wouldn't die or my grandpa wouldn't die. They did.
Right. Still happened. It's
not
always.
Jesus Christ.
And like, listen, sometimes the answer is no. I get that. That's why I'm not. God isn't a genie.
Right. I get that the answer is no sometimes, but
when
that goes against what he's saying about...
Right, no, exactly.
You'll always get... Your boy will be healthy if he goes to God. No, he'll be healthy if he goes to the doctor.
Yeah.
He'll be healthy if I get him his vaccinations.
Right.
I won't have 8 kids die from whooping cough.
He'll be healthier with science than he will with religion.
Exactly.
If we're choosing sides
That's
here.
what thing that
but
really does piss me off.
But you don't have to choose sides, and that's what...
Right. It pisses me off. And I have a bias because I have a gay sister and I love her to death. I hate it when people say... No, you choose to be gay. When science can be wrong. Scientists are always looking to be proven wrong so that they can better it. But when science has proven that there is a gay gene,
It's just the way
What,
you are. Yeah.
that's what irritates me so much about religion, is when you take it to the point of blind faith. When you absolutely shut everything else that has been proven, and you can see.
What gets me, too, about these same people, and the same argument, is that they believe that they've got to fly God's flag.
Right.
And it's like, and I quoted back to this guy. I said, well, because, he had said, we got to overcome these obstacles for God. And I'm like, so you think we should beat up gay people? And he's like, if that's what it takes to get them to be straight, then, hey, you got to do it. You're the worst human being.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's the same that was talking about, well, he's like, check this out. When I was in prison.
That's a great way to start the
Of course, yeah. Well, that's his thing, man. He's saved now. And since he's been saved, he can't be a thief anymore. He can't be, an aggressive person anymore because he's been saved.
He can't be aggressive, so he has other people beat up the gay people.
Or he can do it, but he's not seen as an aggressive person because he's saved. He's with Jesus.
Right.
Jesus will protect you. Even if you beat up your wife,
right.
I'm with God. It's
right.
cool. Let it go.
Right.
He went, but he was like, when I was in prison, he's like, I ran into the biggest guy in prison. And you know what? I hit him with a brick to show that I'm the man. He's like, if God wasn't on my side, I'd be dead right now. And he's like, and this is one of those guys. He's like, this guy is one of those niggers that just looks around for white people and beats them up. And I'm like, you just, for one, that doesn't exist, okay? White people, stop being afraid of black people. I'm sorry. They don't exist. That's not out there.
Right.
Maybe someone is steal your shit.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
But
Some
white people
Mexicans
do it too.
Yeah, there's a lot in our neighborhoods. There's a lot more white people that have missing teeth and strung out on meth, and they're more looking for your cash.
Kids?
He does, and he actually, I'll get there. Whatever, and he's telling this whole story about God's on his side, and blah blah blah. He's saved, and he's like, I'm not saying I advocate violence. He's like, but like my son, he's 22, and he's a loser. He's just out. He just wants to smoke pot all the time. He's going to college. He's just a loser. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a real loser.
Yeah.
Going to college. Whatever. I don't know his kid's probably retarded. But he's like, the kid got his truck stuck out in the mud. They went out mudding. And I had to go. And he's like, and you see me. I'm a big guy. I just pushed it out. He's also one of those guys that like, get your fucking.
And he's not that big.
He's really not. And
you can't push a truck out of mud. It doesn't work like that.
Your fucking alphas can go suck my ass.
Right.
And I love that type that tries to alpha, and I just kind of calmly look at him and like, you're wrong. Because no matter how much you beat your chest and blah blah blah, I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lose my cool like a moron does, like an alpha does.
Right.
I'm smarter than that.
Right.
But he was like, I don't advocate violence, but he should know that I got stuff to do. I don't have time to be getting him out of trouble, whatever. And apparently, by the way, this is not his real kid. This is his wife's kid.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, he told me he's gonna go back out with his friends, and I'm like, nah, that's not gonna happen. You need to come. We got church tomorrow, and you need to come back to the house. And he said, no, I don't want to. So he's like, again, I don't advocate violence, but I socked him.
Jesus.
You sucker punched your wife's son.
It's not even yours.
Yeah, and he's like, and here's the thing. Let me tell you this: if my wife lets him back in our house, I'm leaving her. And like, God, I
my
hate.
God.
So you're one of those too that wants your wife to choose her kids over you? Fuck
right.
You piece of garbage.
Oh, that is the worst kind of human being.
He really is. And just coming at me about how religion is the best, and like, I didn't say it, but I honestly felt like, so you're the product of religion?
Jesus.
No wonder I'm an atheist.
Yeah, honestly.
I'm thinking about joining the Satanist side now. I mean,
right.
Good God, you're horrible. And that's my thing. Like, and I did. I we were talking about the gay people and whatever, and I just said, for me, it's always this way. 2 guys kissing in Florida isn't going to affect my day.
Right.
And also on the religious side of it, God says, love fellow man. and judge not, lest he be judged himself.
And I just want to throw something out, and we can move on after this, but I just want to make my point. Homosexuality is witnessed in almost every single case in the animal kingdom.
It is.
But religion is only studied in humans. Now you tell me which is unnatural.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, but no, I mean, so you're... and this guy also told me, by the way, that, he's like, I got 20... I work for a good Christian guy, and man, he pays me $24 an hour, whatever. And he's like... And I'm like, I was like, I need to get on God's... I need to get on God's till. I'm not making shit. And he's like, man, if you go to Jesus, man, you'll get a raise and whatever. I work for a Christian guy.
Right.
Nah.
No.
You're all
It
greedy
doesn't work like that.
douchebags.
And see, my problem with that is he's using God.
Yes,
is
he
the
is.
thing. By Christian standards, you are at the core, you're supposed to give your life to God, and what he decides to do with it is what he's going to do with it. It's not, I'm going to give my life to you, but you're kind of going to be my genie in a bottle.
Yeah, you're
if
gonna
I
give
want
me
it, you're
what I
going to.
want.
Right. That's not how it works.
And that's my thing. Like, if God exists, and like I said, I'm not a complete atheist. I don't really know what I am, to be honest. But if him and I both die the same day, and there is a God, we go up to the fucking gates, and you look at me and say, all right, well, as a kid, well, really as a teenager, well, mid-20s, lower 20s, questionable activities.
Sure.
But never physically harmed anyone. I've never openly stolen, I've never stolen food from people. I've never cheated on my wife. I've never hit my kid. For the most part, I try to help people whenever I can. Mm-hmm. Not because of any reward, just because I like to help people.
Sure.
I just think it's cool. I'm what I would consider a pretty good person, ultimately.
Yeah.
Who's getting into heaven? Me or that guy? And if not you, but if someone tells me, him, because he gave his life to Jesus, because he said, then fuck that guy.
That's the problem,
That God doesn't understand shit. That God is like a human. He's hung on himself. Mm-hmm. That's not a God. That's not the guy that could, or the being that could create all humanity. No, because you have to have much deeper thinking.
Right.
That's where I'm like, some of that stuff, I'm like, it's just bullshit. They want you to give your life to God, quote unquote, or to say, blah, blah, blah. So you give yourself to the church. Mm-hmm. So you give money to the church. So you give, that's all it is.
Well,
it's
and the problem is that we could be completely way off as far as how strict. He may not be that strict at all. Literally at all. But the problem with it is Christianity's been around for a long time, so it's just one long game of telephone.
Yeah.
By the time you reach the end, who knows, what the actual message is?
No, you can't tell. I mean, I don't know. I'm just against it. I don't think God or any of it is that strong.
Right.
Or strict. I don't think God does. Because if you have this ability, this knowledge to create the whole world, and have all this understanding of a delicate ecosystem and blah, 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 you're not going to really give that much of a shit if someone,
Right.
You don't have human emotions like we do.
Right.
That's my thing.
Right.
But, I mean, I don't know. Furthermore, to tie in, talk about Christians being persecuted in America. Right. I go to work and I'm attacked by a Christian.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And by the way, totally hates the Catholics. I don't get that. Why do Christians hate Catholics? I don't...
And I told you off air, I was like, Judaism, because I have a Jew friend that I talk to every now and then just because I'm interested in just the little differences between, I've been talking to her with the holidays.
Money too.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta follow her.
And I was like, well... I don't understand, or she said, well, I don't know why we can't all just kind of get along and accept each other for the differences that we have. Judaism is as different from Christianity as Christianity is different from Catholicism, but Jews have no problem with Christians.
No.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Christians have no problem with Jews. And Catholics have no problem with Christians. But the Christians, they got some serious beef with the Catholics.
Yes, they do.
And I don't understand it.
I don't get it at all.
I don't understand this whole, no pun intended, God complex. Or you think that somehow you're better than the other religion.
Like, you think that you roll with God. And by the way, Christianity is not the oldest religion.
Right.
If God was to
Buddhism is, but it's not really even a religion in my mind.
And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe Muslim.
Islam?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
older.
I mean... paganism is older.
Yeah.
What if pagans are right?
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What if that's the religion we
and
should
I
be into?
I don't remember if I told you this on air or off air, but I'm just gonna say it again. The Omist thing. I don't remember if that was on air or off air.
I think it was on air.
But just about, I see a little bit of truth and good in all the religions.
I agree.
I don't think any one religion is
except for the
solid.
Except for those stinky Muslims.
Right, yeah.
Real quick before as we are running, I didn't even plan to go this long.
Me either.
But Doug Martin and Adderall, hopefully he gets over that.
Yeah.
It's better. That's a shit disease, man. And I bet you got it from a doctor,
Not a disease, but just
drug
on.
addiction.
Right,
disease,
yeah, right. But no, he's a beast.
He really is, and hopefully he gets the help he needs and whatever. And, you can argue that it hasn't helped him because he has not been good this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's too young to, But yeah, I've known at least 2 people that have been unable to fight that battle. So hopefully he gets it. Yep. And I think he will. I mean, you're young. You're an athlete.
Yeah.
You do what's good for you.
Right.
It's hard to turn down millions of dollars. And really following your dreams.
Right.
Just because of a drug. I mean,
right.
Anyway, I think that does it for us. It went from one spectrum to the other.
Yeah.
Talking about good old fun stuff like good superhero movies. And then, fuck you, Christians. No. All right. Thanks a lot. We will try to see you guys tomorrow.